Welcome to Chatting Shit with Ostique, the podcast series where we chat about shit with inspirational people from all walks of life. Today, we are joined by the wonderful and inspiring Matthew Timmins. We hope you enjoy this conversation. So Matt, welcome to Chatting Shit with Ostique.
Hi, it's great to be here.
It's lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Before we get into the lots of questions that I have for you, I wondered if you would mind just introducing yourself and just letting us know a bit about how you came to have your stoma.
Okay, I'll try and keep it fairly brief because it's...
No, take as long as you like.
Okay, so the health stuff, basically. I got diagnosed with IBD in 2006, I think it was, actually. Ulcerative colitis. Kind of took a lot of different medications from there, pretty much all those over the years, and I was very up and down. I'd have flares, I'd get really, really bad times, and I'd have a period of remission where I'd be okay for a short time, then I'd get bad again. And that kind of led me all the way up to my surgery in 2019, where I needed a stoma. Now it's quite complicated with myself because I have a lot of other issues alongside. And one of the big diagnoses I had with it was something called PSC, which is narrowing of the bile ducts in the liver. So that's a really, really hard diagnosis to have because there's no cure, there's no treatment, and PSC's job is just to totally destroy your liver. And what happens when you get this, should anyone actually, there'll be a few viewers that have this, is you end up with something called portal hypertension, which is in your portal vein system. That's your bowel, your liver, your spleen, and your gallbladder. You've basically got a high amount of pressure, and you develop a lot of dangerous symptoms. For me, it was something called varices. So it leads you to have cirrhosis of the liver, and that gives you portal hypertension. And you get these varices, which, if you can imagine, like tiny little veins, and they're all in your esophagus. And the real danger with them is they can...
Painful?
No, not at all. Not in the slightest. That's the thing about PSCs. It's one of the most invisible things you'll ever know, because you never know anyone really until they have really severe symptoms. But you wouldn't know. Yeah, it develops these little veins in your esophagus, and they can pop and bleed. And, it can be deadly. So that's kind of the situation that led up to 2019, which was I tried all the meds, I tried the biologicals, and they needed to give me a stoma because that was it for my bowel, my large bowel. That there was no way forward. But here's the dilemma I was in. They couldn't do the operation, and they couldn't do it. But no, they couldn't do it because it was too dangerous. Because when you're a surgeon, you're cutting away. You can't have all these broken blood vessels because you'd have to keep.
No.
So I'm in hospital and I'm thinking, I really need this. And they're like, Matt, we don't know what to say at the minute because your bowel's shutting down, your liver's shutting down. And, it's, we'll come up with something. And the solution was a liver stent called Ep6. And what that does is, in your liver, if you can imagine, you've got a high pressure vein and a low pressure vein. And what they do, they use a central line and they connect the two veins together. And that creates a type of bypass for your liver. And what that does over time is to calm the pressure. And luckily for me, it calmed the pressure. So about, I think it was 6 to 8 weeks later, then they could do the operation. Even with that, the risks, they said to me, look, we'll do everything we can, but after this, you've got 72 hours and your liver is either going to go, oh, thanks for saving me, I'm good, or what have you just done? Wham, and you need an emergency liver to live. So that is a lot to take in. You know, I mean, I'm firing out this stuff really quickly, but I mean, at the time, you know, you get your whole family kind of around. I have to say, you know, not goodbye, but be prepared for this, because the risks were so severe. You know, even with that tips in place, you can still bleed. So it's still very dangerous. And my professor who done the surgery at one point, because when you've got liver disease, it enlarges your spleen, which if you think of your spleen as a big bag of blood almost, so that's in there doing a good job helping you really. But when it enlarges, it's not very good. And mine had got quite large, and during the surgery, they had to stop because the enlarged spleen was in the way. So when he's trying to make my stoma, like, what do we do now? This is, you know, and luckily they just kind of stepped back a little, had a bit of a breather, and then went back in with some clear thoughts to what do we do, because his spleen's, in the way of this surgery. And I got through it. It was about a 6-hour surgery.
Wow.
Yeah. And honestly, like, there's not anything anyone can prepare you for when you kind of go for that. You know, all I'll say is, you know, when you do the anaesthetist, right, you know, they'll ask you to count to 10. You've got no chance. Because, I mean, if you get to 3, you're a legend. But I mean,
you've done well.
and then you're seeing something, you know. But that was really what led me to the surgery. I always knew kind of down the line, statistically, chance you're gonna have that, and I avoided it, to be honest with you, on purpose, because of the risks, because he's high risk for me, you know. So, you know, looking back at that time now, I mean, you look at me now, I probably look fairly healthy. I am fairly healthy and be right now. At the time when I really hit me bad, 2018, I'd gone gaunt in the face. You could see, like, my arms were like totally bone, all drawn out here. I was going to the toilet maybe 20-25 times a day. The blood loss, you know, the weight loss. And I honestly look back and I think, how did I go and do full work shifts? How did I do a 14-hour shift with this? Yeah, I have no idea looking back now. But it was always my mentality. I always worked. And I did my martial arts, did the karate for pretty much the same time as my job, 20 years now. But, you know, that was just always my mentality, and a lot of that stayed with me, you know, along the way. So the stoma really did save my life. And just a quick story I'll tell. When I came round from the surgery, well, the guys had said to me beforehand, when you come round, you won't be, if you can imagine, in the real world, you'll be a bit sedated as such, right? Yeah, to be polite. And I really didn't know what it was on about, because I thought, well, I'm going to be a bit groggy, I'm going to be fine, you know. And what happened was, I remember waking up, and there was a nurse there. I don't know which, like, it's like the after surgery part. I can't remember what it's called.
I think it's recovery, isn't it? You go to that sort of middle,
very malarkey bit, yeah. And there was a nurse there, and I was like, oh yeah. And she's like, oh, do you want a glass of water? And I was like, yeah, I'll have a glass of water. I kind of looked down. I was like, oh well, I've been able to do it okay, you know what I mean? And I had this glass of water, and then what happened was, I looked up at this glass of water, right? And as clear as I'm seeing you now, I saw, right, a crocodile hand dancing with this glass of water, and it was absolutely clear, and I couldn't distinguish between, is this real or is this not real? Have I actually woken up, or is this a dream? And I don't know what the heck I am. So it was just, every time I tell that story, and they go, okay, what medications? Because I want to try this, But it was.
We should all have a bit of this.
Because of that portal hypertension, one of the things with it is they can't give you an epidural because they can't measure the pressure. So they had to give me 3 really strong painkillers directly into the abdomen, and one of them was this ketamine, and that was one. Yeah, that I was seeing a crocodile. I mean, I haven't seen any crocodiles.
That is hilarious.
But it was a great time, really. I thought he was just kind of around, and that was it. But I see the great thing for me was the day after, because you're lying there, you've had the surgery, you've come through him, and basically, I'd had the pain team come round and all this, but before that, you wake up. Now, every single morning, I'd get this pain in my abdomen. It was on the one side. That was ulcerative colitis, and I'd always get that pain. Didn't matter how good I was feeling, I'd always get, and it was gone. So
what was that like for you?
I couldn't comprehend it.
Yeah.
If you can imagine your day, 365 days a year, that's your standard. You always have that. And I think chronic illness patients and people that it's a very difficult question when you say to them, I almost laugh because they go, what is your pain level? And they expect you to say 3, 5, 7, 244 or whatever it feels like. But you're so used to being in some sort of pain that it's not really, these scales aren't relevant because you're used to it. So to wake up and not have that was like, oh, it's like you got a new body. Well, you have,
Yeah.
And then
how amazing.
Yeah, and alongside that, you're trying to you do the whole, I'm going to try and recover from this surgery, which is, anyone that's had this stoma surgery, remember it's a major surgery, so you need to, you need to physically prepare as best you can. The aftercare is something you have to look at. Well, that's getting quite deep into it now, really, but I think you've really got to, if you've got to a point where you need surgery and they're saying to you, this is going to help you, you kind of have to listen. And there's a majority of people that you'll see, go through this surgery, and the only difficulty I would say really comes sometime after. So try not to go into it with too many preconceptions. Oh, my life's going to be amazing after this. It might not be. Or my life's going to be terrible after this. It might not be. So you've got to have that kind of level-headedness, that balance in terms of, okay, this is to help me. Let's see where it takes me. And with that, I always found it didn't seem as bad then. Because if you get a complication or another symptom or whatever, you haven't set yourself up for, oh, it's going to be wonderful, it's going to be wonderful. So, but just keep your mind open. Don't close yourself off to, enjoying life as well, because you're as deserving, to enjoy life as anyone, really. I'm going to get a little bit of squash after that. I don't think I'll shut up for the last 8 minutes.
No, I've loved every second. I really like those pieces of advice. And I would love to get into potentially what helped you in your recovery or what tips you might have for people. But before that, I wondered if we could just quickly touch upon the mental health side of things. Obviously, we've talked a bit about kind of the physical side of things, the symptoms, the recovery, the changes. But I wonder, IBD, I feel from talking to a lot of people, comes with its own mental health challenges because of what it means for your life and your kind of day-to-day. But then I imagine being told that you would have a 72-hour window after you wake up from a surgery where pretty much anything could happen and you need to prepare for all eventualities, that must have taken a real toll on your mental health. And then you've got the recovery. So how's that whole journey been for you?
I can't say there's a right or a wrong way, or do this or don't do this or anything. And I think the easiest way for anyone to understand a bit about me is to give you a little bit of history. And
Yeah.
you know, I'll just be blatant with this. This is going to upset some people. You know, I lost a lot of people in my life. You know, I lost my father when I was 12. I lost two brothers, one to 24 to cancer, 25 to leukemia. Okay. My mum passed away not too long, about 10 years after that, thankfully, because she got to meet, the kids and stuff. And then more recently, literally the year of my surgery, the coming up to the Christmas, one of my other brothers died of a lung disease. So that's kind of where I'd come from. I'd come from a tough mental. No, I don't mean as in a hard mental background or something like that, but I'd been through challenge.
Yeah.
And what that does, as horrible as it is, you know, everyone's got these moments, and it might not be grief, it might be something that you've been through. Everyone has been through something that they didn't think they could come through. So to kind of go back to the question of how did I feel mentally? How did I think of these things? I look back to some of those times and I would think, you know what, that was really, really tough to go through as a person. That now is not my weakness. That now becomes my strength. That becomes the stepping stone to help me forward. And if you can associate, because it's different for every single person. It could be anything, you know, it could be absolutely anything. It could be a bad work experience. It could be, you know, an argument you had with someone. It could be literally could be absolutely any negative experience you've gone through. But you don't have to keep it as that. You can keep it as, okay, when this hits me, when this gets really tough, I'm going to use that and I'm going to plant it here and go, okay, you went through that. Let's see what I can do to try and get through this now. And it's not always the case it works or whatever. And
Yeah.
as I say, you know, I've been through the grief a lot, and you'll find with mental health and stuff like that, you'll cry. And a lot of the time, people don't understand it, and they think, oh, I'm going to be better tomorrow. I'm going to be. But the reason someone's crying isn't because they're weak. It's because they care. If you think about moments that you've been touched, moments that you've really felt, it comes from a place of caring. And that's deep set in a person to go, okay, these are personal to me right here. And you can kind of use them a little bit, you know. So I would say, you know, if you get told something like that, you know, the diagnosis moment for most people is a tough one. You know,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people talk about like having the stoma, but for me, the way I look at it is the stoma is kind of part of the journey. The real baddie is the diagnosis in the first place, whether it be IBD, cancer, or, you know, look at any of these other routes that may, I mean, for some people, even childbirth, you know, you know, there's loads of different ways that people end up with a stoma. And I think, you know, that ends up being like, oh, okay, I've got one. And you focus on it because it's there. But it wasn't the bad guy. The bad guy was the diagnosis. And that led probably to the medications as well, probably to the surgery, and hopefully not, but maybe to a complication down the line, you know. And it's just important to remember with anything like that, you're not alone. People have walked that walk 9 times out of 10 before you. So be open to approach. And, if you need to speak, it's okay. You don't always have to be a ray of sunshine going, oh, I feel positive today. Maybe you don't, and that's okay to feel that way. You've just got to kind of stay grounded with yourself. Don't put too much pressure when you're feeling like that, because there's a lot to handle. There's an awful lot to take in,
I'm so sorry that you've gone through so much loss and grief in your life, and it sounds like you have managed to reframe certain aspects throughout your life and therefore continue with kind of this ray of sunshine and positivity that really comes through on your social media and things like that. And I know people find you really inspiring. So I just wanted to say I think you're amazing, and thank you for sharing those tips. I think they're practical and they're caring, and it's good for people to feel like it's okay to feel all of your emotions. And actually, we don't just need to hear about the good bits. You have every right to also go through low times and express them as well.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's lovely to hear those words. And, for a long time, people would say this, Matt, you've been through all this. How do you get up and go and work 40 hours a week now? How do you get in front of 20 students and teach martial arts? How do you just do your daily life having been through all of that? And I just I never associate it with, I'm the stoma guy, or I'm the IBD guy, or I just think I'm me, as unique as you are you, and everyone's got their own skills and talents and things you enjoy. And one thing I used a lot of the time was humour. I just tell a lot of jokes, I'd always say something like, I'm the funniest guy in the room, but I'm also the only one. But it doesn't matter. It still counts.
Still true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you've got to have that kind of lightheartedness, because it is so heavy sometimes. But and another thing I would say helped me massively was I'd be having the symptoms, IBD wise, going back a few years now, and they'd be bad or whatever. And I found something. This is just by a total accident, right? I'd leave like a supportive comment on someone's post, right? Could be anything, hang in there, Frank. You look good today. Remember, you're cooking me a cake next week, or whatever it was. And the thing is, it made them feel good, which in turn had that spiral effect to make me feel good.
Yeah.
So here I was, losing the inflammation, I can't probably eat or drink hardly anything because I happen to run to the toilet. But all of a sudden, I feel good. It's like a switch. It's like, wow, I feel good right now. My health didn't change, but my emotion changed. And if you can have that where you're in tune with your emotions and your health, it is part of you, but it's not all of you. So you have the control to change your emotion, in terms of how you feel, and you can use humor. There's nothing wrong with using a little bit of humor. I think it's great because it breaks it all up. And when you start to think of, oh, I've got this wrong, I've got this wrong, I've got this wrong, it feels so heavy. But when you've got that lightness, it's like, oh, okay, well, I've still got all that wrong with me, but I'm going to go out and play football, or I'm going to go and read my book today. I've got this new book. I love my book. I'm going to, whatever it might be, So human beings fascinate me. The kindness they show. Not all of them, obviously, but
No.
hopefully they're watching. But, yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the gym, because I've seen lots and lots of posts and updates from you from the gym doing lots of different things. And I wondered, I guess, one, how do you stay motivated to go if maybe you're having a day where you feel particularly fatigued, or I've seen you post a few times that you didn't have good energy levels, you really didn't want to go, but you still went and you did something and you felt great. And I wondered kind of how you got yourself there. And also I saw you mention something about that you wanted to look into whether physical activity can reduce fatigue. And I wondered if you could talk a bit about that.
Okay, so I don't want to go on camera and go do this because it's really important. Everyone's an individual. So I'll just say something that's worked for me recently. And it was totally contrary to what I'd always learned, taught. And growing up when I was probably 17, 18, I used to love the bodybuilding magazines, all the Mr. Olympia. I was really skinny. And I mean, I was like, there's literally no muscle on me at all. So for me, I was like, I can't even get a shirt that, the neck fits right. So I've got to build myself up somehow. And I remember like buying some weights and having those at my mum's, and I was just going through the motions there. But I became a bodybuilding fan. I started to understand it. And one of the things you'll find in the fitness community and all that type of stuff is to talk a lot about, go to failure, push yourself, keep going, do this. And this is great advice if you don't have a chronic illness.
Yeah.
Now, this is where the game changes. If you have a chronic illness, and in particular, in my belief, if you have a stoma, your fatigue levels will be higher naturally. And it's to do with your hydration, because having a stoma, you can't absorb fluid as well as someone else, because that was the job of your large colon, which is now away. So you got this problem where you want to be fit, you want to take part in exercise, but you're going to feel really tired all the time. So how do you do it? So what I've actually found is trying not to go to failure all the time. Okay? Because if you imagine it on, sounding a bit like some kind of scientist there, but if you imagine like a graph or a scale, and if you imagine this being, okay, this is the top of your physical peak here, this is the maximum you can give, right? Now, the maximum you can give might be here now because you're post-surgery, or even 1, 2, 3 years later because of your hydration issue or any other physical challenge you're having. If we say to that person and the person that's got a colon, train exactly the same, this one here is going to feel absolutely bad. So it has to be adapted. I'm not saying you can't always like go in the gym and go hell for leather, but you've got to find a way of training that suits you, your body, and your recovery. And there's a couple of really, really helpful things. See how you feel the next day. So if you've done your training and you can feel it, you can feel the muscles or whatever, but you feel like, actually, if I wanted to, I could go and train today. I don't feel totally flattened out. If you're waking up and you can't move off the bed at all, and you've got that, what you call DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, but there's no delay because it's there immediately.
It's there immediately, yeah.
There is no delay, okay? And you're like, you can't move. Okay, fantastic, because you've now found that was too much. So now you have to rewind a little and go, okay, maybe I did 4 sets on every back exercise. I'm gonna do 3 sets. So you got to find the way where you feel your body is engaging in whatever you're doing, whether it be gym, if you like whatever fitness you enjoy, whether it be walking, I mean, I ended up after stoma surgery with 2 further diagnoses, right? Nothing to do with my stoma. It was to do with steroid medication from when I had the IBD flares, the heart condition, right, called DCM. And what that is, my heart beats, okay? It releases one amount of blood, but it doesn't take in as much back. And then in turn, that leads to, it's called low ejection fraction, that is, and that leads to the heart muscle being stretched out. And that's called DCM. It's a type of what they call, I don't want to scare you, it's just a medical term for it. They call it heart failure. Okay. Yeah, I know, because it's the word failure.
They got to come up with a better name.
Failure. Oh my God. Okay,
Yeah,
but it is called that, but my point with that, I would love to go and do long walks, but what happens is, when I'm on my feet a long time with the DCM, that affected me. It affected me massively. I've actually reached a stage now, as I said, where I've been able to adapt a little bit. Okay, so I would get like swollen ankles from walking like down the road, and it really frustrated me because I thought, I don't want to keep getting in the car. I want to walk sometimes. But then I got, my ankles would get really, and it's just because the heart can't pump the blood as efficiently. And currently I'm in remission with that, which is, fantastic. My liver is the best it's been in 5 years now. I've still got them problems, but I'm as good as I can be. So I had to adapt. And, the thing with like going for the walk and stuff with the heart condition, it's like, that's the kind of stuff I get daily. So it's like, oh, okay, how do I manage this now?
Yeah.
Or, I've got, I'd my hernia as well. Because at the start of this year, I had my hernia surgery. And that's been a hard one to kind of come to terms with, really. Because this is such a tough subject. I think that may be better for another day, I think, because it's such an extensive topic. I'll be willing to speak with you and other people on that. Maybe an idea for the future, that one.
That's a great idea.
I think it's such, a hard subject to talk about because we only got to say the word hernia and instantly, like, oh no, I don't want one of them. I don't want, and it's just to be mindful, when we have a stoma, there's always a chance you can have a hernia. It's not your fault. It's literally just the fact is your stoma is pulled through this gap, and all you need is the tiniest bit of bowel to go through there, and you've got a hernia. So it's not like, oh yeah, it's your fault because you lifted a 10-pound dumbbell, or it's got nothing to do with that. You could sneeze and it could happen. And the support garments, they're okay, but ultimately, if you think of how fast someone sneezes, that's not a defense against that type of speed. You know what I mean? Or coughs, so that's a tough one, just trying to manage all them little effects, each day. But as I say, always open to talk to others if they need a listener,
I'm sure people really, really appreciate that. So thank you. I wondered if we could touch upon, you mentioned that you've got kids, more than one, couple of children perhaps?
So I've got, so I'm married, I've got 3 kids. I've got
Freaking.
yeah, well, my stepson, he's nearly 21. Got my son, who's 15, he's 15 this year. My daughter will be 12. And just going back to all that type of stuff, I remember having the surgery, and not so much with my stepson really because he was older, but with the little ones, because going back 5 years now, not so little now. I remember coming back from that hospital stay, and one of the stoma companies gave me like a pretend stoma, and I was like, okay, how do I have the conversation with the kids?
Yeah.
And I think it's something that goes through most parents' mind because you think, okay, this is going to be part of your life, whether you want it to be or not. If you're going to go down that road, so how do you introduce it to the kids? And I remember like had this pretend like stoma you had to stick on your tummy, and then they said like, make some Quaker oats, put it in there, and I mean as long as it's not anything in the supermarket these days, because you need like a third mortgage to afford all that stuff. Do you know? Yeah, so you do that, and I remember having the convo about it, and I'm pretty sure it was either my daughter and my son. I can't remember, or it was both of them. And I told them about how it would work and how it would look and blah blah blah. And I just remember this comment, and it was like, "Oh, so basically you do a poo on your tummy," and it was just like,
pretty much it, yeah.
What's the big deal, Dad? What you keep going on about this for? It doesn't really matter. I'm going to play again now. So yeah. So it was like, and that again is a great mentality to not always focus so deeply on all the intricate moments. What if this happens? What if, because if it does, it does. You not much you can do about it really. But that was great, really, to do that. So I guess going back to like your question a little bit, parenting when you've got a stoma, when you've got chronic illnesses, it is always challenging. I'd always have to say, respect to my wife really, because without the support and love of your family, it's always really, really difficult. So it is really important to surround yourself. I mean, not everyone has that as well, where they've got a supportive at-home network. And if you haven't, go to the next stages, your best mates, and even like this like online friend thing, like it's so good because like I've done some of the meetups where you meet people and you're like, oh wow, I've only spoke with you online, but then you kind of meet them and you're like, oh, it's actually a real guy, it's not a robot, So it's really nice to kind of just do that, and you'll find like if you meet other ostomates and other people who are going through all this type of stuff, it's just fun, because you hardly ever talk about that. By the way, it's just like, yeah, you'll go out there, oh, who do you support, and you're still like slagging each other off the same as anyone else. You can't. What it is, you're kind of mindful. So you go, if someone's like disappears to the toilet for like 30 minutes or something, you're like, oh, okay, it must be sorting something out. But even then, you don't really approach it or anything. It's just like, you all know you've got what you've got, but you're out together as mates or whatever. So it's good. It's a good part to get involved with, really.
Yeah, that must be really special. Everyone talks about the importance of community, and I think that's enormous in getting through, well, anything in life, really. And I think this is no exception. But I think you definitely give back to the community a lot through your social media. I always see you commenting really lovely, positive things on people's posts. People only have lovely things to say about you within the community. So you're obviously doing a great job.
Obviously, I live. They're
all on the payroll.
Yeah, $29.98 a month. Just
that's good. I'll join. It's a great salary.
I will tell. I'll touch on one thing, and this is a really funny thing actually. When I started this account, because I thought, okay, what do I do here? So I had the Facebook. I never had Instagram. I'd never even been on Instagram. In fact, I used to call it Instagrams. I had no idea what the heck and how you did all this. It was all techie stuff, and I thought, what do I call myself? Now I went with what everyone called me.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's past 9 o'clock. Somewhere it's past.
Somewhere it is.
Okay, so I got this name, Yoda Man, and it was, a lot of people think, oh, Star Wars, but it was nothing to do with that at all.
What was it?
No. Here's the thing. So, well, kind of. When I got these diagnoses, it was complicated, and I just sat down after, I think it was like 2010 or something like that, and I thought, I got these, top doctors, and they're saying to me, well, you are like, out of 1 million people, you're like, there's 7 of you, okay? And I'm thinking, if I don't understand this, how is anyone else ever gonna be able to help me if I get unwell or whatever? you know. So what I did was I delved a lot into, okay, let's have a look at ulcerative colitis. And I would go deep into that. I would go deep into PSC. And I would understand kind of all these intricacies, and I can have them, open chats about that because I understand it. And when I would talk about this stuff, or even just in comments, people would be like, "Whoa, hang on, that's a lot of information." So they kind of associate it with, "Oh, there he is again, Yoda. He's kind of, the all-knowing one, So, and then Matt just came on the end of it, so it was like, "Oh yeah, Yoda, Matt," and that's kind of how that was created. Was like,
we love that.
Yeah, because it was just
like a Star Wars fanatic, so now we all know.
Luckily I haven't started going green. I've got a bit less hair, but not. Still have some, But yeah, I like that. So that's kind of how that came about.
I love that.
Another good story.
Always a good story. Matt, we'll probably have to wrap it up, but I really love talking to you. So I think let's definitely do another episode, potentially with a couple of other people, like you said, perhaps around hernias, what that experience is like, all of that kind of stuff. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, it's flown by. I mean,
it does, doesn't it? I wish they could be hours and hours, but you must come back because I have so much more I want to talk to you about as well.
It's been a pleasure.
It really has.
It's been nice and lovely for others to kind of just bang that on. Just, I'll listen to this in the background. Let's instead of Homes Under the Hammer for a change, let's put this up.
Mix it up. Matt, thank you so much for coming on and for being so open and just generally very inspiring to everyone.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.
I'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.
Have you seen the new Ostique skins yet? Ostique skins are revolutionary ostomy pouch covers that were created to make the wearer feel confident, sexy and powerful in all of life's moments. From moments of intimacy to lounging by the pool, conquering a workout or simply heading out to lunch, skins have you covered. Even better, they're compatible with all major colostomy and ileostomy bags. Ostique skins are available in a range of colours and skin tones, and they're made from a revolutionary material that's completely waterproof, high quality, soft and comfortable. Skins are easy to use, even with reduced dexterity, and they work with both closed and drainable bags. Plus, skins are also environmentally friendly and vegan. There are 4 bundles available to buy now, and you can also purchase individual skins. Head to ostique.co.uk to find out more.